G'day once again and welcome to Graveyard Shift, the podcast inspired by two Melburnians in ISO lockdown in 2020, watching their Melbourne Storm from afar and hopefully cheering them on towards another premiership win. Certainly we're back in a finals campaign, securing second spot after the final round is all done and dusted. The ladder for the final eight is in place and we know exactly what's coming for us this weekend. Coleman, a loss to finish the season. Not too disappointing a result though. We knew that it was probably going to be difficult with so many senior players being rested and being kept on ice really for the big match this weekend. How's it going, mates? And what did you make of the final weekend of NRL action?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to all our viewers watching again. And hopefully we've got some new viewers watching as well. Yeah, I mean, you can't be disappointed with the performance of that team that we put out on the park. I'm a competitive guy and I always want to win no matter who's out on the park. So I was a little bit frustrated at the end, but once sort of the emotion died down, it was a good performance by a team that hasn't played a lot of football this year. I think really for me, the difference in the end was obviously the lack of sort of class. No disrespect to the 17 we put out there. A lot of them are still young and developing. Experience, I think, played a part, especially in that second half. I can't remember the last time Melbourne Storm got scored on like bang, bang, like that. Those two sort of tries back-to-back that St. George had. And the other big thing was the fact, and I think the commentators mentioned this, the fact that a lot of those guys, in a normal year, they're playing Queensland Cup. They're staying match fit, they're staying match hardened, and that hasn't happened this year. They've just been training. So I think those three factors all culminating led to the result. But, to lose by 8 points is no disgrace. I know St. George aren't exactly a team that set the world on fire this year. But the fact is they're in a winning position too. And, had we had a better kicker, no disrespect to Pappenhausen, it would have been a bit closer. But, at the end of the day, it's a good performance from essentially a second string team. And that's, I think, really all there is to be said about it. I think the focus should be more on this week. What about you, Dubs? What are your thoughts?
Spot on, 100% nailed exactly what I was thinking and went into the game not being overly concerned by the result, but still wanting to win. And what I was pleased about is the guys we did put out there actually did show a real competitive spirit and competitive fight. And if truth, we should have been quite a bit further ahead at half time. We left 8 points out in the field with 4 missed conversions. So 4 tries and a half is a pretty outstanding result, but really it should have been a lead in well into double figures, and it just wasn't the case in the end. We ended up with a lead that wasn't enough to hold them off, and even then we were still in the game until really the last 2 or 3 minutes when they scored that runaway try at the end. Interesting that a few Twitter fans or a few St. George fans on Twitter, perhaps, I'm not sure if it's tongue-in-cheek, I hope it was tongue-in-cheek, suggesting this makes up for the penalty try awarded to Crows in the 99 grand final. All I can say is, I'm sure Jamie Ainsco's sleeping a lot better knowing that St. George back for that result.
Yeah.
I think I'll still take the 99 grand final win, thanks, but that's just me. Yeah, look, some good signs from some of the young guys who had a go, a couple of debutants, more game time for someone like Cooper Johns. Riley Jack's got a good chance to play significant extended game time, as well as some of those fringe players who would be pushing to be considered for a spot on the bench or who, well, we won't be hoping they get called into for injury or suspension cover, but may need to do that role if it happens over the next few weeks, if we go deep into the finals. So it was an important game, I think, for the prospects of the next month, as well as for the future, because ideally, our superstars won't last forever. And if we're doing things well, someone like Cooper Johns should start knocking on the door next year, as should Nico Hines and other players who got a run. Realistically, the team that started, probably only Pappenhausen and Welch go into the starting lineup next week, off the top of my head. Brandon Smith's the key player, but he's probably on the bench, which goes to show you that of those 3 kind of senior players that we had there, one of them, I think our captain, Papa's really only in his second full season. Brandon's still a young emerging star, and Welch is more experienced, but he isn't exactly like a hardened veteran of 300 or anything. So, I was happy to put them on ice to take a very competitive loss against a St. George side that clearly, it meant a lot to them too. They were celebrating pretty hard in those last few minutes. So,
it's a bit ridiculous.
I mean, you don't get me wrong. I'm a fan who wants my team to win. If we'd been in that same situation, I'd still have been happy for them. Of course, I would have been celebrating, but might have left the fist pumps at home knowing we've just beaten a Queensland Cup that hasn't played for most of the year. Anyway, that's just me being
that played with 12 men for the last, 5-10 minutes because Bellamy didn't want to risk Brandon getting injured.
So, fair enough too. Smart move. I mean, there's a competitive streak in me, but there's also the side that says it's probably not going. We're not going to win.
Yeah.
Go and get Brandon injured. I'm going to kick myself all week. So
Yeah, definitely.
By that stage, the job was done. Really, I'd say by half time, Bellamy had probably seen enough to make him happy with the outing, with those 3 tries, particularly in the first 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing Tui Kamakamika went down. Bellamy mentioned in the press conference that Tui would have played a lot more in that game too, which affected the result. But I think the more concerning thing is that he probably would have featured potentially in our 17 this week. That was
especially with question marks over Dale Finucane as well. I believe internally they seem to be comfortable that he's going okay, but we don't know that. We haven't seen him for a couple of months.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And we'll get to the team list obviously in a moment.
Preempting.
The other interesting thing, Dubs, I wanted to mention was Brandon starting at lock. I was a bit surprised. I thought Booth did a really good job for a guy like Nick Taboo. He did great. Again, was that a hint at what the plans are for next year, or is it a hint for what they are this week? I thought that was interesting. Maybe
could be mind games.
Yeah, it could be mind games, but I thought that was an interesting move. I just want to call out Greg Alexander as well for making the absolute. I don't know. I'm terrible with words. I'm not a wordsmith here, Dubs, but to actually say that Max King went in with intention to injury, that is an absolute insult to the point of it's defamatory. It was a silly tackle. He deserves to probably have a couple of weeks for it. Lucky that no serious damage was done, but to actually go out there and say you've got the intent to injure someone, that's absolutely ludicrous. Like, we're not living in the 70s anymore where, if there isn't a fight at a game, you go home disappointed. So I thought that was way out of line for Greg Alexander.
That's a stupid comment. He's not a sociopath. You don't go out there going to hurt someone today, break their ankle or do their knee. If you do, you're not going to be playing professional sport because you're clearly sick, and I don't think Craig Bellamy would take you. I think Greg Alexander needs to rethink his words there. To actually say he went out with intent to injure someone, no, he didn't. Or at least I'm fairly confident to say he didn't. I think he got caught up in the moment and laid what was a pretty silly, clumsy tackle that will be dealt with appropriately, as it would be. We'd be angry if an opponent did it to one of our players with good reason. I can understand why it's being frowned on. He'll be disciplined for it. That's appropriate. To say he went out there and tried to injure someone, tried to hurt someone, is just a stupid statement from somebody who either hasn't thought and perhaps doesn't even realise what the implications of saying that are. I've been in car accidents in my time, and I didn't go out there intending to plough into somebody or intending to cause damage. I think you just think about what your words mean, Greg Alexander. It's not like you're a broadcaster who gets paid to talk or anything like that.
Yeah. No. It just plays into that whole perception on Melbourne. They're grubby, they play dirty. It's just unnecessary. It's uncalled for, and it's really.
No one's ever laid a dodgy tackle against one of our guys, have they?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I just wanted to vent my frustration there. I know Bellamy was asked about it in the press conference, and he shut that down very quickly.
Good.
And rightly so. Speaking of Bellamy, there's just maybe before we move on to the week game against Parramatta, there's been a very strong rumours that he might be on Brisbane in 2022 as Director of Coaching. Again, he was asked in the press conference about this, and he just said, I'm not making a decision until after the final series. And then I heard Cooper Cronk actually commenting, saying, listen, I've been in Bellamy's dressing room for a while. When Bellamy speaks like that, he actually means it. So that kind of made me a little bit more reassured that it is, these media outlets are sort of beating this up more than it is. Interesting to see what happens then. Let's hopefully, and Matt Tripp came out again strongly saying that, it's just another tactic to derail and distract the club leading into finals. He says it happens every year. So,
of course it does. And let's be completely honest, it happens in every code at this time of year, because in Australia particularly, our winter sports play towards a final series. At this stage of the year, all the major codes, it will be player movement rumours and coaches going to move, especially coaches at clubs that are doing well. So if for any of our fellow Melburnians, think back a few years ago when Hawthorn was having its great run. Here's a shameless plug from me, the Hawks fan. I think two of the 3 years that they had their three-peat, the Hawks, Mike Sheehan predicted Alistair Clarkson was going to go somewhere else. And Alistair Clarkson actually had the opportunity to go back and basically tell him to his face that he was an idiot afterwards, because one thing if you're not a Hawks fan, you probably hate Clarko, fair enough. And if you're not a Storm fan, you probably hate Bellamy, fair enough. one thing you can't say against them is that they are professionals who would not be sitting there going, yeah, I know I'm 3 weeks away from a premiership, but I think I'm going to think about leaving. Yeah, that's the thing for me. That's just not how they operate. I'm not saying Bellamy won't go. Hope he doesn't. But if he is going to depart, he will not be having that conversation now. He is way too professional. He is way too successful to think, yeah, now's the time to be putting my own needs ahead of the team's. That is an outrageous thing to suggest. Yeah. But it's typical. You got newspaper editors who have fewer games to talk about, and they need back pages rather. So they go, let's go on a wild speculation that the coach is going to leave and he's being tempted by Brisbane. And even though we don't have to prove it because it's just a rumor, we'll just spend 3 days beating it up on the back page and get everybody riled up.
Yeah, well, it's worked. I'm riled up.
There's no accountability for them because all they can say is 6 months when everyone's forgotten it, they go, oh, well, we heard a rumor.
Exactly. All right, Dubs, let's have a quick run through the, well, not the finals. Let's have a quick run through round 20, the final round of the home and away season. We had the Cowboys. I guess it wasn't official that night because the Bulldogs still had to not lose by 177 points, but the Cowboys defeated the Broncos. Can I just also say how just ridiculous it was, that whole baby, was it gender reveal at the end? Not that I'm going
to I'm going to jump in there. I think it's one of the most silly Americanized gimmicks that has just pervaded social media, done for clicks. Look at me, I can pop a balloon with confetti in it. Okay, cool. I've sounded like a miserable bugger there, but I'm not a fan of gender reveals in general.
Oh, listen, that's not, to me, that's not the point. The point is,
yeah, you and I are going to be agreement here. I won't steal your thunder, mate. Have your say.
No, I'm gonna have a crack at this. And listen, I don't care. Like I think I've made it clear that I really don't like Brisbane. They've always been that powerhouse. You want to call it tall poppy syndrome. You want to see the big club do poorly. Anyway, you're the captain of a team, of a powerhouse team that should be in the finals every year, and you've won their first wooden spoon, and you've just lost to your arch rivals, and you're gonna do your gender reveal and all laugh and carry on like it's all okay. That's disgraceful. Like, if any Brisbane Broncos fans, like, you guys need to be, obviously don't get personal with the players, but write into the club, let them know that's not on. Like, if that was European football, European soccer, the fans would have run onto the pitch and demanded they take their jerseys off because they've disgraced the club. Yeah,
that's not the slightest exaggeration, mate, because you and I follow world football very closely, and that sort of thing does happen. It might not happen so much in the UK, although it does. You go to parts of the continent. My goodness, go to South America and see how they take with you you've led your proud club to an absolutely shambolic season. Okay, I'm not going to judge harshly. That happens. It's about how you deal with it. And if you deal with it, oh, thank goodness the season is over. Now I can have my little Instagram moment, make it all about me when the fans are suffering and struggling. We put up another pitiful performance and this proud club got a wooden spoon. When the city of Brisbane, the people of Brisbane have genuinely united behind you and made it a huge part of their sports culture, and you've just decided, oh, well, season's over, I'm just going to go have a gender reveal party because it's all about me. I'm going to do it I'm collecting a salary from the club, and the fans who are paying their hard-earned money to come and see us, who've had a shocking year, on top of 2020 just being a garbage year in general for all of us. If I saw that, it would actually make me sick.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a miserable bastard for thinking that, but I also think that I have supported teams that have had awesome seasons. I've supported teams that have had garbage seasons in the various sports I love. And watching a garbage season, you can swallow it as long as you know that they're giving their all and that there's some kind of plan to build the club up to the future. To me, that's just saying, I don't care. It's Villa fan. Go back a few years to when Aston Villa got relegated. Proud old historical club, one of the founders of the Football League back in the 19th century. Jolyon Lescott comes on after the relegation was official and says, oh, it's a relief now, we can have some fun. Quite rightly, he got chased out of the place. Anyway, over.
Anyway, yeah, I had to rant about that. And just finishing off that, credit to the Broncos fans who threw all those wooden spoons on their training ground. I think, we need more
Maybe we can have a spoon reveal
party. Fans. Anyway.
It's going to be wooden or silver next year.
Yeah.
Manly versus Brisbane, the battle of the spoons. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now we spent way too much time on this poll, man.
Anyway, all right, let's smash through this. Titans, they looked fantastic. 5 in a row, finished the season in 9th. 60-8, who would have thought? But credit to the Bunnies. That is a bizarre result. Very, out of the blue, but good on you, Rabbitohs. The Panthers didn't get to 117, but 42-0 took home the Shield, or were presenting the Shield, and you know they celebrated. I wouldn't say over the top, but for a club like Penrith, like enjoy the moment, like because you're gonna lose to us in the grand final. No, but you know it's their first bit of silverware in 17 years, so you can't blame Penrith for getting a bit excited at winning that. So you know, congratulations, I guess.
Good luck to them.
Raiders too good for the Sharks. They're going to face off again week 1. The Eels just got over the Tigers. This obviously we were watching this one. Had the Eels lost, we would have been playing the Roosters.
We had a very close eye on that.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, I think we're all sort of going for Parramatta in that one. And then the Warriors finished off their season with a solid win against Manly. You know, credit to the Warriors. Obviously, sacrificed a lot. And then we had our result. And the final table, I mean, don't really go through this. I think everyone's pretty clear of what's going on. Yeah, that's the finals. Titans, you know, finish only 2 points out of the 8. So watch out for the Gold Coast next year. One interesting thing, check out the Sharks. Their difference is exactly 0. Won 10, lost 10. They had an absolutely average season, like perfectly average. Like everything evened out.
If you're a future Armour fan, mate, that's the neutral grey people. Everything is right, even down. 10 and 10, 480, 480, 0.
Yep. And then we won't really go to the teams yet. Broncos last, just in case you're living under a rock. Okay, Dubs, here we go. This is what we need to talk about. Big game on Saturday night. Storm versus Parramatta at Suncorp Stadium. I believe it's live on Channel 9, which is great. I think Channel 9 showing all the finals live. Obviously, we've got a lot of ins.
In goes an entire team.
Yeah. So let's have a look at our lineup. We've got Papa, Sully, Brenko, Justin, Josh, Cameron, Jerome, Jesse, Cam Smith, Christian Welsh, Felice, Kenny, Nelson at lock. Brandon's on the bench. Tino, Eisenhuth, and Nico. Before I ask you what you think, that's pretty much what I expected last week. I thought I want Eisenhuth on there. He's versatile. Nico's, I think, shown his worth this year. And we've got the big Brandon and Tino impact plays coming in off the bench. So what are your thoughts of that lineup, Dubs?
Yeah, of those 17 jerseys, probably 15 of them are where I thought they would be. I suppose Nelson at lock is one of the ones where I wasn't 100% certain whether Tino gets the nod there. They've gone for a bit of experience in Nelson, someone who's been there a couple of times before. The other role, I was fairly comfortable that the second centre jersey would go to Brinko Lee, so he'll be playing it outside centre rather. And that's probably not a great shot considering the only other real options were Momirovski, maybe Shandor Earl. And those guys obviously wouldn't have fitted that role as well. Maybe Nico Hines, but I wouldn't have been rushing him in to play the centres. They've gone for someone in Brenko who's not been in fantastic form, but has at least had a fairly consistent run in the centres in the past. And then that last interchange spot, I think Nico's an appropriate option there because he is fairly versatile. The other name I thought might have been in that last spot was maybe Riley Jacks if they wanted another back option who could play there. But I think all things considered, Nico's probably a little bit more versatile in that role. And then there's a couple of other squad players who were always going to be discussed in the mix, like Tui, like you talked about, Tui Kamakamika. Albert Vete would have been in discussions at one point. Then there would have been some guys who were close, Ricky Latelli, Shandor Earl, others who have had a decent run before. But really, that's pretty close to our strongest 17 players. That's pretty close to our strongest squad.
And no Dale. So obviously he's not even named as.
Sorry, I passed over a bloke I mentioned 5 minutes ago. Dale.
Yeah.
Obviously not 100%. So there's your back. Some of the names I mentioned before, like Riley Jacks, would be someone who's waiting in the wings, just in case they decide to do something different in the backs. But I would be surprised at this stage. The only player there who's I would parachute into it would be a fit. Oh my goodness me! We were just talking. It's COVID brain, mate. A fit Dale Finucane probably bumps Nelson to the bench, would probably bumps Eisenhuth out of the squad if that happens. But yeah, the only real question mark was how did they work out the centres and who got that versatile back spot, and it's gone to the names that are probably just on the cusp would be Nico Hines and Tom Eisenhuth, with particularly Tom Eisenhuth if we bring back in Dale Finucane. Goodness me, I've had a bit of word salad there, but I think everybody understands what I'm talking about. And look, I think if you compare this team to the team that played a couple of months ago, however long it was ago now, against Para and lost 14-0, this is a very, very, very different team. For one thing, 3 of our key playmakers are available now. I don't think Sully was playing that night, was he?
I don't think so.
Kenny Bromwich left the side, which tells you that we're probably down to our 3rd or 4th choice captain on that occasion. Yeah. Missing Cam Munster. We were missing Jesse Bromwich. We were missing
Jerome.
We were missing Jerome Hughes. So we were missing a halfback, our hooker.
I think Munster was out too.
Munster was out as well, which is he probably.
I'm sure it was Jackson, Cooper Johns in the halves that night.
It was, and as we know, no disrespect to them, that is not a premiership winning pair at the moment. So certainly not with the routes that we had that night, and we still managed to be reasonably competitive, albeit with a few clumsy errors along the way. So I think we get our chance to avenge what they probably thought was a big win for them. Then at the time set them up for a tilt at the minor premiership, which they then slipped away badly from, and only until the final day with an unexpected loss to, not unexpected loss, but with a bad loss to the Roosters, managed to secure 3rd place again. So I think it's a big win for us that we improved after then, because even though we don't get to bring them to Melbourne where we'd have the massive home crowd advantage, we do force them up to Brisbane where A, we'll have a bit more of a crowd behind us, and B, we force them to travel. We're taking them out of their comfort zone into what is neutral favouring Storm territory.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's as close, unless we played on the Sunshine Coast, it's as close as home as we can get. I'm nervous just because, like, you know, I think a lot of Storm fans are like, yeah, Parramatta, we're going to smash them, blah, blah, blah. If this was a regular season game, I'd be saying yes. But if you look at the last, I think, 4 seasons, I can't remember what happened in 2016, the first round of the finals.
We won the first round of the finals in 2016, but
was it close? Because I remember 2017, Parramatta came to Melbourne. They gave us a fright. That was a close game. 2018, it was that famous, was it Cameron Munster field goal?
The Munster field goal on the night that included the incredible runaway try, chip and chase by Sully Vunivalu.
Yeah.
Croft actually had a very good game that night, or at least he executed some very good plays that night. So I'm in agreement with you, except...
And so just to finish up, and then obviously last year we lost to Canberra. So the last few years we've been shaky in this first final. We have not won this convincingly. So that's why I'm a bit nervous. I think we're going to still win, but I'm definitely not going in 100% confident. Oh yeah, Parramatta, we got them by 20 points this week, guys. Just based off that history. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I was actually thinking about the history of it as well, although I was more thinking about last year in isolation when I felt reasonably confident we had Canberra's measure, and I still say we should have in that game. But we didn't. And the reality is, despite an abysmal, atrocious, disgraceful call from the touchy for a guy who was about 45 metres in, calling him out. Anyway,
yeah.
Captains challenged that in retrospect. Anyway, won't get into that disappointment that we had. But that was where we should have had their measure and we didn't. Now, credit to Canberra, they made it to a grand final and almost pinched it at the end there. But the reality is that derailed our finals campaign because it put us to the other side of the draw where we had to then front up against the Roosters at the SCG, which was a less than ideal preliminary final because had I done that, I would have probably just about backed us against Canberra. But that Roosters side was exceptional and they had the better of us on that day. Fond memories of that game, partly for Nelson belting someone 5 seconds in and getting sent to the bin. But anyway, a side note there, I think that actually that'll be quite fresh in Bellamy's mind, and it's probably not a bad thing that we had that stumble last year because I think this is the kind of situation where he's probably thinking, right, we bottled it last year when we shouldn't have. This year, that happen again because finishing top 4 is a huge advantage because you get the double chance. Finishing top 4 and winning the first week is a home preliminary final, which is an enormous.
Yeah.
So many great premiership tilts in recent NRL history have been set up by getting yourself a home prelim.
Yeah.
And the 3 years we made the grand final in 16, 17, 18, we got there on the back of a home prelim.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I had a look at 16. 16, we got over the Cowboys 16-10 in that first week. And when we played Para, it was 18-16. So I'm predicting a close, tough, low-scoring game, but I'm still predicting a Storm win. I think we're too good.
You and I were at that Para game.
Yep.
And it was, so I was also at the Canberra. I was actually all the finals in 17 and 18, including the granny. In 16, 16 I was all the finals as well, including the granny.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do remember we had a better run in 17, although not without the challenges. The Broncos stood up to us for quite a while before we put them away. Yeah, anyway, we won't go into history. The important thing is finals does change the atmosphere. And it's
Exactly.
to say finals brings a different level of pressure. But I'm still going to back us to win, because I reckon it's not only fresh on Bellamy's mind, but probably 2/3 of the squad as well.
Yeah, and I think we've got that gear to step up. But
yeah, we have another gear that we probably didn't need to step into 12 months ago, and we didn't, and we bottled it in the finals campaign, which was bitterly disappointing.
All right, Dubs, I think we've got to move on to Paul's ponderings here.
Yes, indeed, mate. I've been waffling on for ages today, so ponder.
I'm going to try to make it quick. So here we go. We're continuing on with our fallen mediocre clubs. Last week's was for 16 minutes. I really got into the Adelaide Rams. I've done a bit of research again, but I don't think it's as... hopefully it'll be quicker. Anyway, this week's fallen mediocre club is... it's a team that's had just about more names than they almost had more names than wins that chalked up. It's a team that comes from what's known as the elephant graveyard of Australian professional sport. You can probably guess what it is now. It is none other than the Gold Coast Chargers. Can you see the logo on the screen?
I can see it. I wish I couldn't.
Now, when I say Chargers, I actually, should clarify / Gold Coast Tweed Giants.
That's about 1,000 times better than the other one. That's looks a bit superhero Marvel Comics bursting off the page.
Yeah, it is. / Gold Coast Seagulls.
Well, that looks like a VFA side, 1980s.
Yep.
That's cool.
/ the Gold Coast Gladiators. This was actually their logo for 3
months. Not
months.
a logo. That is a badly pixelated sprite from an old computer game. That's someone playing Ultima in the 1980s. Gold Coast, get your act together. What the hell is that?
Yeah. Anyway, well, only 3 months. We'll go into this. We'll leave it on the Chargers logo while I speak, because that was obviously their final name.
I definitely wanted to get a headache from looking at that, but go on. Sorry, I went into
it. All right. So Gold Coast came into the NSWRL in 1998 as part of the 3-pronged expansion. So when Brisbane, Newcastle came in at the same time, there was a so-called international syndicate comprising of John Sattler, Bob Hagan, and Peter Gallagher, who are all former Australian players who spearheaded the bid. However, they initially they were bidding for Brisbane. I guess they must have been bidding against the Broncos consortium or whoever that was. It failed, so they turned their attention to the Gold Coast, and they got the Gold Coast bid across the line. However, the Brisbane Broncos had exclusivity to the southeast of Queensland, so the Gold Coast had to base themselves just across the border in New South Wales in Tweed Heads. So their original name were the Gold Coast Tweed Giants, is what they called themselves for the first few seasons. They played in a grey, black and white jersey, kind of similar to the Tweed Head Seagulls. Now, who are the Tweed Head Seagulls? So they were basically... Well, it was the Seagulls Leagues Club was the main financial backer of the Gold Coast Tweed Giants. And then also they're linked, obviously, to the Tweed Heads Seagulls, who are a very quite proud, old, historic rugby league team that plays in the QRL. So the idea was they were going to, that the Seagulls had a stadium, they had fans, they had the financial backing of the league clubs. But by calling themselves Gold Coast, they thought they would potentially open up a bit of corporate support and sponsorship. So hence why they had that Gold Coast in their name. Now, according to Wikipedia, they were a team with a foot in both New South Wales and Queensland, yet failed to be truly accepted by either. So they were kind of like a half breed that nobody really wanted. Do you know what made me think of, Dubs? Do you remember the Wog Boy?
I do, yes.
Tony the Yugoslav, that famous line.
Yes.
I'm half Serbian, I'll put the accent on. I'm half Serbian, half Croatian. I wake up in the morning, I want to kill myself. So killing you is no problem, fucking. So they're basically the Tony the Yugoslav of Australian Rugby League. They were kind of half Queensland, half New South Wales. No one really wanted them because they weren't pure breed.
Very confused at origin time, surely.
Yeah, and I think that's really the heart of the Gold Coast. We're going to go through all their name changes and colour changes and changing stadiums. They never really had an identity. And you think basing yourselves off this, this Tweed, having this leverage of this Tweed Head Seagull club, they could have really used that, but they never did. Anyway, they weren't very successful at all. They were really mediocre. So 88, they were 15th out of 16. 89, they were 14th out of 16. 1990 came their first name change. So they dropped Tweed and changed their nickname to the Gold Coast Seagulls, changed their colours to red, black and white. They kept playing, however, at Seagulls Stadium, which is in Tweed in New South Wales. But they still finished 15th in 1990 out of 16. Now, 1991 brought a lot of hope as Wally the King Lewis joined the club after having a fallout with Wayne Bennett at the Broncos. 1992, he was famously captain coach. And then in 1990, at the end of 92, he stepped down from playing and just decided to coach the Gold Coast in 93. However, those 3 years, Gold Coast won 3 consecutive spoons in a row. So even Wally Lewis couldn't change their fortunes. 94, they went one better, finishing second last. And then in 95, with the expanded ARL, which had 20 teams that year, they finished 17th out of 20, which was at that stage their best finish. End of 95, the Seagulls Leagues clubs withdrew its financial support. As the ARL News Limited battle clouded the future of the game so much that no one was really willing to back them financially. So it was very difficult to find someone who was going to step in. So it looked like the club was going to fold until local property millionaire and entrepreneur Jeff Muller stepped in around mid-December 1995 and took control of the club. So he was only in control for 3 months. So in his time, he moved the club to the Gold Coast, dropping the whole connection with Tweed. Obviously, the Seagulls had pulled out. Moved them to Carrara Stadium, which is now Metricon Stadium, and changed their name to the Gold Coast Gladiators. And it was under his leadership, they famously changed their colours to, this is, quote, wiki, jade, black, purple, and gold, which is what they had for the rest of their...
Yeah.
If you remember those Gold Coast Chargers jerseys, that was basically this guy. Well, was it him? I'll explain exactly who came up with that idea. So he was only in charge for 3 months, and it got me, I did a bit of surface level digging to find out what actually happened. So after 3 months, the ARL revoked his license before the start of the 96 season, and then the ARL ran the club. But in that short period, that 3-month period, under Mueller's reign, the Gold Coast actually won their first ever, and this is the Gold Coast's first ever sporting trophy, I guess. They won the World Sevens preseason tournament as the Gold Coast Gladiators. Anyway, and then, the ARL took over. So I found an article with, it was in 2010, just before the Titans preliminary final. I think that was Titans' best ever season. And it was interviewing Jeff Mueller, going back to the old Gold Coast Chargers, etc. days. So this is what the article wrote. So, quote, 3 months, a World Sevens preseason title, a handful of chief executives, 5 coaches, and some court battles later, Mueller's license would be revoked by the ARL. So I think he was a bit of a flamboyant character, like just sacking people, hiring people. And I think the ARL thought it was going to turn into a bit of a basket case. So they took control. Here's another quote from that article. Quote, legend has it that Mueller's wife, Lynn, even helped pick the side based on the presentation of the players' posteriors, although the man himself says that's an urban myth. And this is Jeff Mueller, quote, she didn't pick the team. She actually did the jerseys. When we walked onto the stadium, the crowd went berserk with the colours. It was fantastic, something different, the colours, the design. So it was his wife that came up with that crazy monstrosity of a jersey. Anyway, so the ARL take over just before the 96 season. They changed the name to the Chargers. I don't know why. I thought Gladiators is a fine name.
Better name than Chargers, especially if it appears to be an electrical charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even sure why.
Yeah, exactly. But they kept the color scheme. So obviously I like the color scheme, the jade, purple, whatever else those colors were. 96, it was business as usual. They finished 18th out of 20. Then 1997 came. So obviously Gold Coast was playing ARL. And that was their best ever season. They finished 7th out of 12. They scraped into the finals for the one and only time in their history. They upset the 6th place Illawarra Steelers in the first week of the finals before being beaten by the Sydney City Roosters the following week. So they survived the cull when obviously Super League and ARL merged to form the 1998 NRL season. This is a quote from that RL 1908 website, which is defunct. I actually had to like get one of those way back time machine things to get this quote. Quote, the better than expected finish to the season also deflected talks of mergers with the rapidly ending South Queensland Crushers and Hunter Mariners. The Chargers were included into the NRL's 20-team competition for 98, and with their finances now in a sound position, home crowds improving and pleasing on-field results, the club seemed on the rise. However, as we know, 1998 was atrocious. I can't remember. I forgot to actually, I think they finished last or second last again. Crowds were down. And, you know, the Storm Link, we played them once in our history. Unfortunately, there was no cup to play for. But we beat them. We handed out their biggest ever defeat in their history, 62-6. That was on a May 31st at Olympic Park back in 98. And here's another quote from the RL website. So at the end of 98. So while the Chargers thought they had another season to position themselves for the 2014 team competition, they ultimately paid dearly for their 1998 results. The St. George and Illawarra joint venture triggered further concessions between News Limited and ARL. News Limited withdrew its financial support from the Adelaide Rams, and the ARL, who was still in control of the Chargers, decided to close the Gold Coast club down. And then that was the end of the Gold Coast. But, you know, as we know, basically as soon as the Gold Coast Chargers was dead, I think people got together and tried to get another Gold Coast team. And 9 years later, we had the Titans, who have, you know, in the context of things, have actually done pretty well. The fact that they're still around and they haven't changed their name or their colours or stadium in 13 years, you know, I mean, they did change their stadium. They went from Carrara to the new Robina Stadium, but that was obviously a positive thing. So that's the Chargers. And obviously, the one player the Chargers, I think we all should know this as Storm fans, that gave us was Marcus Bai. He actually came to us from the Gold Coast. So let's have a quick flick through the pictures. So that's the old, can you see that stadium, Dubs?
See it perfectly.
Yeah, that's Carrara or Metricon, for obviously got its facelift.
It's actually a reasonably cleaned up version of that version of Carrara compared to what it was in, say, 92, 93-ish when the Brisbane Bears were playing up there. But
yeah.
Cleaned up version of what became the new Carrara.
Yes, yeah.
Is now Metricon Stadium, which is much nicer.
Yep. This is a nice sort of collection of the various Gold Coast jerseys over the years.
So they've been about 4 different teams. That is just, you can't change.
Yes. 4 names in 11 seasons.
That would be, maybe they were looking at the AFL, who around that time had brought in, within a couple of years, Port Adelaide, Port Power, and the Fremantle Dockers. It looks like somebody ate a Dockers jersey and a Power jersey and vomited them out. That's what you end up with that thing. That is,
yeah,
not great.
That's a good one.
It's not great.
And here's Marcus Bai in 1997 playing for Gold Coast. Here's their mascot, Captain Charger.
What is that? That is it. Speaking of Marvel Comics, that's like the Marvel Comics character that got rejected. That's not great.
It's very 90s, very 90s. Here are them. Check out that mullet on the far right.
That's outstanding. That's ridiculous. The whole club slightly.
And I'm pretty here second from the left. I'm pretty sure that's Preston Campbell.
Looks a bit like him. Could be wrong. Yeah. It's not him.
Yeah. Now, this is one of the rare photos of them as the Gladiators. If you can see sorry, I didn't get this photo bucket watermark. This is them winning the Sevens tournament. And as you can see, they've got the Gladiators logo. Those jerseys will be worth a lot for the Gold Coast diehards. So that was them with the Sevens Sevens trophy. This is just a team photo. I thought Marcus Bai was in here, but he's not. Ben Gonzalez, don't know who this guy is, but I don't know. I just liked it how he's wearing the Giants, but it's the Seagulls up in the corner.
That's fantastic. So
there's the Seagulls. Sorry, the Giants, but they're obviously sponsored by Seagulls, which confuse things. There's another Giants jersey. And this was the Seagulls Stadium. So nice little boutique ground.
Tweed Heads.
Yeah, that's Tweed Heads. There's Wally Lewis.
Wally Lewis looks so wrong in that outfit.
Yeah. Another one of King Wally playing for the Seagulls. This was 2014. So this was, I don't know, some Gold Coast remembering their history or something.
I'm sure that was done with affection to their past. I'm not sure it had the desired effect. It kind of just more looks like, look how much we've killed clubs in the past.
Yeah.
And that only got in the 80s.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all I have for the Gold Coast Chargers. So yeah,
Outstanding work, Mr. Poll. That is some wonderful research, and I hope the listeners are enjoying, or the viewers rather, enjoying this walk through a bit of NRL, NSWRL, Super League, ARL, NRL history here, because I'm learning quite a lot about names that were kind of just gimmicks and buzzwords, or
yeah.
memories of things I remember from when the Melbourne Storm first came around. So that's probably one where we can see where some mistakes were made.
Yeah, and shout out to the Adelaide Rams Twitter account. I tweeted at them, and they tweeted back. It's on. We want the Southern States Cup back,
Mate, we've 22 years and counting. Adelaide Rams, get a team together.
Adelaide's been stewing for 22 years. They want that cup back. All right, Dubs. Let's finish off with memes.
Meme away, my friend.
All right. This is basically two themes this week's memes. The Roosters saw plenty of these on the team bus Friday. Clever, very nice. Broncos fans be like, please Panthers beat the Bulldogs by 177 because there was still a chance.
There always is a chance.
Where's the 10 in the bin for Kiri? Look at him. Not a very good referee. So this is as good as it gets. And yeah, that ridiculous call. Like the Bunnies had some bad calls against them. It seriously could have been 70.
They should have actually been. The thing I thought is, wow, they've played a blinder of a first half, and frankly, they should have been another 12 points up. And at that stage, it was actually only about 8 points, I think, when they had two shocking calls in a short space of time. And instead of going to pieces, they bounced back and scored another double before half time. It's just remarkable that they had galvanised them when you have a couple of shocking calls go against you like that. But anyway, suffice to say, geez, you wonder if the Roosters how much were they putting their feet up in anticipation for the finals, and how much were they genuinely shell-shocked? But that's not for meme discussion, my friend. We'll find out this week.
Yeah, we'll find out this week. Here we go. Broncos at training. Yeah,
very appropriate.
Got the spoons out. If the Panthers beat the Bulldogs by 175, the Broncos will avoid the wooden spoons. So you're telling me there's a chance? Do you remember this scene from Dumb and Dumber?
I do remember about. I can't remember the precise line about going out with him and the chance being incredibly remote. But I can't remember.
Yeah. It's a really good scene.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, it made me laugh because it just threw me back to that scene. So look it up, guys, if you haven't seen it. Congratulations, another trophy for the Broncos. Yep. So, that's pretty much how they were reacting after that gender reveal, wasn't it? Like,
it was, and it's like, guys, dude, I get it. Get behind your teammates, support him, whatever. I'm not trying to be a killjoy in general, but you are professionals who represent a club, and you made something incredibly personal right in the moments after you've just basically confirmed your first wooden spoon. That's
the lowest point of your club's history.
Yeah,
anyway, we've already ranted about that. Here we go. Well, he's Darius Boyd. He was lazy. He couldn't defend. Didn't score too many tries. Followed Wayne Bennett around like a puppy and led Brisbane to their first one too. Still, there goes the fifth best fullback Brisbane ever had.
It's savage, but it's all very true.
I feel sorry for the ones that were behind him. And this was going back a week, obviously. Craig Bellamy handing in the team list against the St George game. I thought this was
beautiful
funny.
use of the Norman Swan, the Jonathan Swan rather. Norman Swan's his father. Jonathan. That interview there with Donald Trump and the ending of that bemused face is going to be great meme work for a long time to come.
Yeah, good meme. Well done. And this one, possible NRL Grand Final winners. Then you got the Sharks.
The Sharks.
Where are Rabbitohs and Knights? I think the Rabbitohs should be in there. I think they might shake it.
Well, you never know if they win
up. But yeah, I can't see the Sharks and Knights doing too much damage, to be honest. But who knows? And one more meme, actually. I'm sorry, I'm dragging this out. One more meme here. Here we go. Mrs. You said you'd be home earlier this Mad Monday.
But I can tell you right here and now, I have agreed to nothing anywhere. Anywhere.
Boys, I can see the cameras here.
Get rid of the cameras. Whoops, sorry.
That's all right. We
shut up, Ricky Stewart. All right, that's it.
Technical clumsiness there, but I enjoyed the gag all the same, mate. That's what we have in the Graveyard Shift. We're not glamorous. We're real working class podcasters here, folks. So get around it.
Yeah, go Storm this weekend. Like, share, subscribe. Come on, go Storm. Let's do it. Let's beat the Eels this week. And
we'll be back next week after what is hopefully a crushing win against the Eels to secure a home preliminary final. Saturday night, watch your Melbourne Storm. Get on your Zoom party, celebrate, and get that purple haze buzzing in the cyberspace for the Melbourne Stormers, guys. That's all from us here this week. On behalf of myself and the Pole Man and the Graveyard Shift, join us again next week to talk about what is hopefully going to be a week off for the Melbourne Storm. Oh man, take care. See you Saturday.
See you later.